Hello and welcome to today's Office Hours session. This is Paul Hoyt, and I want to welcome you to Office Hours, which is a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do every Monday at noon Pacific time. All these recordings, slides, and exercises are archived in our members area, and all the recordings are available on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Paul Hoyt. The reasons we do these office hours presentations is because we know that being a successful small business owner can be a great experience, but we also know that it's tough. You need education, training, tools, and team in order to be successful. And we want you to get to know us because when you do, you'll know that first and most importantly, we really do care about you. We want you to know that from the beginning. We want you to succeed in every area of your life, whatever that means to you. We want you to find the greatness, the happiness, the divinity that you have within yourself, and then remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as we do. Our passion is to increase the survival rate, accelerate the growth rate, and reduce the struggle rate of businesses in America. And our vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives. And if you find these office hours presentations valuable, please pass the word. Please share the information with other people. You know, right now, all of the office hours presentations are available for free. We'd love to give them away because we want to do everything we can to help small business owners in America be more successful. Our office hours agenda is usually an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. And then we have some closing remarks, special offers, and invitations for next week's sessions. And then we go into questions and answers and coaching. So as you're listening to today's office hours presentation, think about what questions that you would like to ask or discussion topics that you would like to approach us with, and we'd be happy to share them first on the subject matter of the day and then on anything that you want to talk about. I invite you to join us online in the Awakened CEO communities on both Facebook and LinkedIn, where we publish a business success principle of the day Monday through Thursday on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then I do an energy of the day posting every morning on Facebook. That's part of my morning discipline, is getting up and finding something positive to say to everybody about one particular subject. And today was number 641 in a row of the energy of the day postings. During the call today, you can join us online with the Awakened CEO community in Facebook, where you can share your insights and your takeaways. And our goal is to have 20 comments and likes in the Facebook group. I want to extend a special invitation for you to join us on Wednesday for an Awakened CEO conversation. That's going to be another interactive webinar with special guest Paz Simpson, who is known as the Happiness Engineer, where on the office hours presentations on Mondays, we focus on business growth. On the ones on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday right now, the Awakened CEO conversations, we focus on personal and spiritual growth. So that's Wednesday at August the 26th at 6 p.m. Watch your emails for sign-up information. And today's topic is Coach Me, the coaching profession explained. We always try to relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the key performance areas of business that I defined in my book, called The Foundation Factor, that I published in 2004. And this one's all about leadership. It's about taking responsibility for your own performance, and it's about learning how to be a good coach so that you can help other people step into their greatness and help them with their performance, which will, of course, accelerate the performance of your business. We often relate the office hours presentation to one of the three levels of performance that we talk about in the Awakened CEO system, which is mindset, methods, and momentum. And today's coaching call is all about all three of those. So as a coach, we focus on your mindset. We focus on methods that you might use to improve your performance. And the coaching process itself is a type of method. And when you have a great coach, or when you are a great coach, it's all about developing momentum and maintaining momentum. So really, this conversation that we're having on coaching affects you at all three levels of performance, affects you on the mindset level, the methods level, and the momentum level. Today, we're going to talk about the coaching profession defined. What is a coach? We'll talk about the value of coaching, the types of coaches that you may engage. We'll talk about how coaches differ from consultants, advisors, and mentors. I'll talk a little bit about the challenge of being a coach, coaching skills, and then we're going to sum it all up in the bottom line. And we're going to give you also, by the way, some of the favorite questions that I have seen coaches ask me and I've heard coaches ask other people too. First, we're going to talk about what is a coach. And when I was growing up, as I was saying in the introduction before we started today's presentation, coaches used to be on the sideline and they had whistles. They were only in athletics. That's where we use the term. But now we're seeing the term coach redefined and coaches being everywhere in all kinds of different areas of our life, not just in athletics. The profession of coaching is rapidly evolving. The International Coach Federation was founded in 1995 and now has over 25,000 members. The ICF provides certification and training to advance the coaching profession. In the ICF, curiously and interestingly, they have certified 446 different training programs that are accredited, and they cost anywhere from $97 to $20,000 to take one of those programs. And that is a huge, huge, huge range. And frankly, that's one of the problems with the coaching profession today, is that we see a wide variety of the type of training that's necessary in order for somebody to hang out their shingle as a coach. And in fact, it's not even necessary because the profession is not a regulated profession. So as a result of that, there are some issues with therapists and counselors that we'll cover here in just a second. There are, by the way, a lot of professions that are not regulated professions. Being a business consultant, like I am, is not a regulated profession. You can hang out your hat as a web developer, and that's not a regulated profession as well. But so anytime that you're dealing with a professional who is in a non-regulated profession, you do have to approach that with some amount of concern and caution and ask some really good questions about what their experience is and check references, because you don't have an independent third party. There's no federal government or state government certification board that's looking after people to make sure that they've got the right training and experience before they attach a label to themselves. Let's talk a little bit about the difference in between therapists and counselors and the difference between therapists and coaches, because there is a big difference, and you want to make sure that you know where the difference is and when to choose which one of those. So therapists deal with identifiable dysfunctions, and coaches deal with healthy clients. Therapists, typically the conversations, especially with cognitive therapy, is focused on the past, things that happened to you, choices that you made yesterday, and any sort of trauma that may result from tragedies and accidents that happened in your life. And where coaching focuses on the present and the future in order to optimize performance. Therapists have all the answers. When you work with a therapist, it is a doctor-patient relationship. It is the therapist is the expert and the therapist has the answer. However, when you work with a coach, the coaches always say that the client has the answers, that they're just an expert in the process of coaching. They're not an expert in your life, and they're not the ones who actually comes up with the answers. With therapy, it's about diagnosis, therapy, and healing. And with coaches, it's about identifying challenges, alternatives, and making great choices in your life. Here's another big distinction between therapists and coaches. In California, to become a licensed professional clinical counselor requires a master's degree, and not just a one-year master's degree, a 60-hour master's degree, which is typically 2 full years, and 3,000 hours of supervised experience. 3,000 hours of supervised experience equates to a year and a half of supervised action where you're dealing with patients, you're dealing with your clients as a therapist in a supervised manner before you can hang out your own shingle as a licensed professional clinical counselor and begin to practice independently. Contrast that, if you will, to somebody that takes 4 hours of training and pays $97 so that they feel better about calling themselves a coach. That's a huge, huge, huge difference. So if you find yourself having some of the signs that therapy is more appropriate for you than coaching, then by all means seek a licensed therapist, a licensed social worker, a licensed marriage and family therapist, etc., in order to help you in the way that you need support. Here's some signs that therapy is best instead of coaching. First of all, if you find yourself spending a lot of time in your coaching sessions venting about negative emotions and stressful situations in your life, therapy might be more appropriate for you. If you tend to be rather emotionally brittle and very easily set off, if you've got a quick temper and you're quick to anger and have anger issues, then therapy might be better than coaching. If you become defensive or overly sensitive to constructive criticism, therapy might be the right choice. If you have fears or phobias that just seem extreme and are resistant to change, or you believe that you have depression, severe anxiety, or addiction issues, if you find yourself talking to your friends or your coaches and saying, wow, I just feel depressed, or that really got to me, or you know that you have addiction issues, and I'm talking physical addiction issues like to alcohol or drugs or any one of the crazy substances that we can put into our body. I'm not talking about the normal addiction to approval or addiction to applause that we see with some people who really like to get out on stage, but something that really causes you challenges in your life and causes dysfunction in your life, then that might be a sign that therapy is best for you. And here I think is the most significant one. If you're engaged with the coach and you can't make progress on your issues and you keep coming back to the same themes over and over and over again and you get stuck, then that's a sign that therapy is probably more appropriate for you or for the person that you're really thinking about than coaching is. Because having a coach can be a better choice. It's more of a wellness thing. It's like the difference in between going to the hospital or go to the emergency room because you have a critical problem or a long-term chronic problem, or just having a wellness issue of some kind. So for many people, having a coach is a better choice than having a shrink therapist or counselor. It feels better, it's less expensive, and it's more appropriate because you only have minor issues to work on. Coaching really isn't about fixing something. Coaching is for winners, people who already consider themselves to be a winner and who want to take it to the next level. And one of my favorite quotes is one that I came up with or was gifted with in a meditative session a few months ago, and it goes like this: that personal growth isn't just about overcoming blocks and obstacles. It isn't just about dealing with the crap that ties us down and holds us back. It's about learning how to fly. So if you want to learn how to fly, then maybe getting a coach is exactly the right thing for you. If you're just being held back just a little bit by a lack of courage or in some way that you don't even know about, that you feel like that you haven't tapped into your greatness yet, and you're not soaring the way that you would really like to soar, that you're not living up to your potential, then having a coach might be exactly what you need to get. Having a coach gives you tremendous value. The coaches provide encouragement. They provide empowerment. They help you with increased performance. They help you reduce the stress in your life. They give you the opportunity to be vulnerable. Now, I'm going to talk about that for just a minute, because if you're working in a large corporate environment, and I know this is true with ladies and it's true with men, if you're in a management environment or you're in a very highly competitive situation that we see in a lot of corporations, it is very difficult to be vulnerable. It may be difficult to come home and tell your wife or tell your husband about what's bugging you, because they may be sensitive and emotional as well. I think everybody needs to have somebody that they can be open with. They need to have somebody that they can look in their eye and say, man, this really bugs the crap out of me, and do it in a very safe environment that allows you to deal with it. I'm not a person who likes to dwell on issues. In fact, you'll oftentimes hear me say that I think it's real important for you to focus on the crap in your life about 5% of the time, but focus 95% of your time on what's good and taking positive action towards fixing those things. But you got to face the facts, and you got to face the open issues. And while talking to a mirror is really a great thing, it really is helpful to have somebody else that you can look in the eye who is empathetic and who is compassionate and who is understanding and insightful, that gives you the opportunity to be vulnerable. Because when you get that encouragement, empowerment, reduce stress, and have the opportunity to be vulnerable, you're going to have greater life satisfaction. You're simply going to be healthier and happier than you would be otherwise. As it turns out, no matter what issues that you're having in life, there's probably a type of coach out there that's going to be just perfect for you. Here's some of the different types of coaches. At the high level, there's a direct coach and an indirect coach. We talked a little bit about a direct coach before, about being a coach that's on the sideline with a whistle. But today's the new profession. I wish they called themselves I coaches or indirect coaches as opposed to just calling themselves coaches, because it does get confusing from time to time. Direct coaches are the guys on the sideline. They're like athletic coaches. They run the practices, they give instructions, they provide training, they call the plays, they determine the team, they give orders, and they give direction. That's why they call them direct coaches. And oftentimes they get fired if the team doesn't win. I mean, they are responsibility. They have authority and responsibility for the performance of the team. So in some cases, especially if you're looking for, I would say personal training in some way or anything that has to do with an athletic event, a direct coach may be exactly what you need. A kick-butt direct coach may tell you what you need to do, give you instructions, help you with the practice and the rehearsal, and coach you through the performance itself. On the other hand, the profession of coaching that we're talking about for the most part today is what I call an indirect coach. Indirect coaches ask great questions. They explore possibilities with you. They provide accountability. They kick butt when necessary, usually in a gentle way, and usually through asking tough questions, as opposed to just being, direct and telling you to suck it up, cupcake. They usually in the form of asking a clever question. But generally, they don't give advice and don't do stuff. I remember when I first started being a consultant in 2001, I went to a meeting of my local chapter of the International Coaches Federation, and I asked that specific question: what is the difference between a consultant and a coach? And I remember their kind of disdainful response, actually. They chuckled and laughed and says, well, we're coaches. We don't give advice and we don't do stuff. And of course, then they all laughed. I was a little bit taken back at that, because that's the day I realized that I'm probably about 70% consultant and 30% coach. So I do like to give advice, and I do like to do stuff. Like I said, I'm about 70% consultant, and as a consultant, I give advice. I make recommendations. I explore opportunities and alternatives with my clients, but I do make recommendations, and I do stuff. I put fingers on the keyboards. I create business plans. I create financial models. We create marketing messages. We do landing pages. We create marketing collateral. We do all kinds of things for our clients, because here at my company, we're about 70% consultants and about 30% coaches. We have deliverables attached with most of the engagements that we have. And we have specific tasks to complete for our clients and specific outcomes to achieve. That's what we do as consultants. We're also, by the way, advisors and mentors. Advisors and mentors give advice and make suggestions. So they're not coaches either, but they may provide instruction and skill development, but generally an advisor or mentor doesn't do stuff. And generally, mentoring is a longer term engagement and has a greater focus on training and tutoring than does advising. So as with so many different terms in business, you'll see people using these terms in different ways. So some people may call themselves advisors, they may call themselves mentors, they may call themselves consultants. These are the ways that I use the terms. Consultants to me are advisors and mentors, but they also have deliverables associated with their engagement, and that's the way that I define the terms and the way that I differentiate in between advisors and mentors and consultants. As a consultant, I'm proud to give advice and I'm proud to do stuff. When you decide to engage the services of a coach in addition to or instead of an advisor or a mentor or a consultant, you have an opportunity to select from a wide variety of different types of coaches. And here are just some of them: personal coaches, life coaches, business coaches, career coaches, executive coaches, relationship coaches, and health and wellness coaches, and leadership coaches. and performance coaches, spiritual coaches, transformational coaches, transpersonal coaches, and one of my favorite, an ontological coach. So when I went to look up and do the research for this office hours presentation, I found a website that had 89 different coaching specialties. I think I've just listed, 11 of them here. They had 89 different specialties and subspecialties within the profession of coaching. That same website, your primary coaching certification costs $97, and for each additional coaching certification that you wanted only cost $47. So they clearly weren't asking you to do 60 semester hours worth of credit in a master's degree program. And I would question, frankly, the depth of the training that you would receive from a site that had that many specialties and offered the certifications for that low of a price tag. But there are a lot of different specialties out there so that you can choose the one that you want. According to the International Coaches Federation, coaches, and this is quotes from their website, by the way, coaches partner with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential, which is particularly important in today's uncertain and complex environment. Coaches honor the client as the expert in his or her life and work and believe, in his or her life and work, and they believe that every client is creative, resourceful, and whole. The coach's mindset then is that standing on this foundation, the coach's responsibility is to discover, clarify, and align with what the client wants to achieve, encourage client self-discovery, elicit client-generated solutions and strategies, and hold the client responsible and accountable for the choices that they make. Now, for some of us, and I say us because this is a challenge for me, switching from the doctor-patient mindset to the coach-client mindset, from the mindset of I am the expert to you are the expert, is a huge mindset shift. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in coaching, in becoming a coach. And that's the huge mindset shift from I know the answers, I'm calling the shots, and I'll train you, to you know the answers, you make the decisions, and I'll support you. And I think even further on down the line, I believe in you. I'll help you discover, develop, embrace, and own your own greatness. I hope that you can sense the difference in between those attitudes. One of them is a doctor-patient, I am the expert. You came to me for advice, you came to me for healing or help, and here's what I'm going to tell you what you need to be doing. And the other one is, what do you think your challenges are? What do you think your opportunities are? What do you think your blocks are? What do you think is going on in your life, and why do you think that's happening to you? That's a totally different mindset. From I am the expert to you are the expert. I am here to tell you what to do, to I am here to support you in identifying what your challenges and opportunities are, and here to support you in making great decisions by helping you be accountable for those decisions. As a coach, it takes a lot of skill. You have to be able to be a great listener. You have to have skills in being a very good observer, in maintaining absolute confidentiality, and allowing and encouraging vulnerability, providing a very safe place for your clients, and seeing the best in other people. And then, as often as possible, celebrating the progress and success. So to me, that's what coaches really do. They listen, they celebrate your success, they encourage you to be vulnerable and say what's really going on in your life, always being a great observer and seeing the best in our clients. To be a great coach, it takes some real virtues in your character. You have to be humble because you're not the one who knows all the answers. You have to have empathy and insight and integrity. You have to be honest. You have to be able to detach from the situation, and you have to be able to be compassionate. So if you find, by the way, that you have these virtues, if you find that you can look somebody else in the eye and say, you're the expert, I'm here to support you in your exploration of your current situation, your possibilities, and in making great decisions, then you might be a great coach. And when you get your coaches training, one of the things that you're always going to learn how to do is ask great questions. So here's some of those great coaching questions that you might ask as a coach, or if you are in a coaching relationship, that you might find that your coach asks you. One of my favorite ones is, how's that working for you? And some of you recognize that as being Dr. Phil's favorite question. And it's one of my favorite questions too, is how's that working for you? Is to get somebody to step back and look at their life with a sense of detachment and awareness and explore, what's really going on for them. Here's some more great questions. What's holding you back? Or what do you want to do? What do you see as your options? And why do you think you did that? That's a wonderful question. I like to ask that one. And what triggered you? How come you feel the way that you do? Or do you know what triggered you in this particular event? Or what did you choose to do instead? That's one of my favorite questions. When somebody said, I didn't get it done, or I didn't make it to the meeting on time, a really powerful question is, what did you choose to do instead? And is this a problem in other areas of your life? And what's the first step that you need to take in order to reach your goal? And what are you willing to commit to doing right now? Those are all really great coaching questions. And I believe that with any coaching certification that you take, whether it be a $97 coaching certification program or a $20,000 coaching certification program, that you will get a lot of training and a lot of guidance in great questions that you may ask as a coach. So here's the bottom line. I really want to encourage you to get a coach and be a coach, because I want to encourage you to step into your greatness and help others step into theirs. If you are a manager of other people, and typically if you're running a company, you will have at least contractors, if not employees, working for you and with you. It's really a good idea to understand what it means to be a coach and be able to step into the coaching role and the coaching method of communication in addition to the consultative or directive mode of communication. And always, as always, if you have severe issues, or if you notice that somebody else has severe issues, and early in the presentation we talked about some signs that their issues might be severe, I really strongly recommend that you work with a trained therapist or counselor. Generally speaking, they are far better trained and far more capable of managing severe issues than our coaches. So that was our agenda for today. We wanted to talk about what is a coach, the value of coaching, the types of coaches, the difference between coaches and consultants, advisors, and mentors, the challenge of being a coach, some coaching skills and virtues, and we also shared some great questions there, and we summed it all up for the bottom line. So here's your homework. Talk to your friends and colleagues about their coaching experiences, and I encourage you to talk to several coaches about how they work with their clients, and explore, as I said earlier, about getting a coach and being a coach, and then sign up for a coach. If you don't have a coach today, I strongly recommend you to get some. I assure you that your performance will be greater, that you will perform better, that you may have less stress and anxiety in your life. You may have certainly much better life satisfaction than you would otherwise without working with a coach. So I strongly encourage you to do that. And speaking of coaching, we're going to open it up for questions and answers and business coaching here in just a minute, where we're going to offer you the opportunity to make comments and ask questions on the topic of the day, and then any other issues you want to talk about. I'd encourage you to tell me what your biggest takeaways are and what insights you may have gained from this presentation, and tell me what you're going to focus on. Here at the Hoyt Management Group, we provide services on 3 different levels. We teach you to do things with education and training programs, and with our coaching and consulting programs and advising and mentoring programs. In many cases, we will do things with you, like help you write business plans, help you create business models, help you create a website, help you create great marketing materials. And in some cases, as consultants, we'll actually do it for you. You can throw things over the wall, we'll accept an engagement, we'll put our fingers on the keyboard and deliver something back to you at the other end of it. I encourage you to join us this Wednesday for an Awaken CEO conversation with our special guest, Paz Simpson. That's this Wednesday, August the 26th at 6 p.m. Watch your emails for sign-up information. And next Monday will be an office hours presentation on August 31st. As we like to do with the last office hours presentation of each month, we're going to do live group coaching. So there'll be no subject for next week's presentation. Just come to our office hours session and bring your questions about business, about life. And since we are, by the way, life coaches and personal coaches, in addition to being business coaches and consultants, you're welcome to bring questions on a lot of different subjects if you like. Let me know what topics that you would like to address on future office hours presentation at paulsurveyjust.com. And as a heads up, the following Monday, and I think that's Monday, September the 7th, there will be no office hours presentation because that will be Labor Day. So we're going to take a week off after next week's live group coaching session. So in between now and the time that we meet again next Monday, I strongly encourage you to do your homework, explore being a coach, having a coach, learning more about coaches, and seeing firsthand for yourself the value that a coach can bring to your business and to your life. And with that, let's open it up to questions and answers and coaching for the day. I strongly encourage you to type a question into the chat box if you're attending this live. And we'll certainly invite you to come off of mute if you like and ask the question one-on-one so that the rest of us can hear it. Stephanie, do we have any questions for today?
We do. We have one insight, just to let you know what it is. My biggest insight, she says, is it would be super important to have a niche, as I had no idea there were so many categories of coaches. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, in labeling yourself as a coach, as which type of coach to label yourself, you know, can be one of the biggest choices that you make. I know in my personal business, I've at various times called myself a business coach. There are sometimes I work with people as a spiritual coach, because many of you know that, you know, as in addition to having a great passion to help business owners accelerate their growth and have greater success in their life, I'm also deeply passionate about encouraging people to focus every day on personal and spiritual growth. So in some of my coaching relationships, I act as a spiritual coach. I've at other times called myself a performance coach, a transformational coach, a CEO coach. You know, it's whatever word that you use as a label for your activities before the word coach, is that people will put you in one box or the other based upon what they think you do, based upon the label that you give to yourself. So yeah, picking that niche, number one, and then labeling yourself so that people understand what your specialty is or what your primary focus is, can be a very huge choice if you choose to label yourself as a coach at all. So thank you for that insight. I really do appreciate that. Next.
Well, she has,
Yeah.
Kat has more, and she's ready to be unmuted and talk live with you if you'd like.
Perfect. Let's do that. Kat, welcome to the call. You're online.
Hey, how's it going, Paul?
Great.
Yeah, my personal insight, I'm a spiritual teacher coach, and I've not been certified as a coach. However, my life experience, as I know you know my background, but I'm actually a gypsy by blood, and so my whole family plus my life journey is what I coach from. And I take my personal experiences going from a high level of income and no spirituality to breaking down to nothing, and then building myself back up over the last 10 years in my spirituality and really creating a wonderful place for myself. And I teach people from that experience. However, what it seems like I've noticed is there are a lot of coaches that are teaching from no certification and no experience. I know a business and speaking coach who teaches others how to make six-figure income speaking, and this particular coach I personally know has never even come close to achieving that level of income. So, I mean, it just seems kind of like a wild west in coaching right now. It's kind of like anybody can just put up a shingle and do it.
They absolutely can, and I thank you for that comment. So, and I'm really glad you brought up like speaking coach or sales coach is another term that we see out there, and those are not indirect coaches at all. That's more of a direct coach. You know, that's more like the athletic coach on the sideline with the whistle. You know, when I was growing up, you know, until actually 2000, when the term coach started to be used in ways that I was not used to. When I thought of coach, I thought of, you know, my coach, you know, on the sideline whenever I was running track, who was telling me to run faster even though I was dying. Or I thought of John Wooden, or I thought of Bobby Knight. You know, those were the type of coaches that I thought of, and it was very confusing to me when other people started labeling themselves as a coach. And even now, some personal coaches and life coaches may have a tendency to be, you know, indirect coaches in the classic way that I talked about coaches, and International Coaches Federation talks about coaches. You know, we don't give advice and we don't do stuff kind of mantra. But sales coaches and speaking coaches are in fact doing training and tutelage, and they're more like a direct coach than they are an indirect coach. So I don't know how we distinguish in between those. I think we're just going to have to deal with the confusion, because some people that call themselves coaches adhere to the ICF definition of coaching, and other people that call themselves coaches are far more direct coaches, like the athletic coach or the sales coach that tells you what to do and how to say it, and a speaking coach who actually gives you feedback on your performance and says, you know, this gesture was too big, or you repeated yourself, or whatever a speaking coach will say. So that's a great insight. I think there is a lot of confusion in the marketplace out there, and even though we tried to clarify some of the aspects of the coaching profession today, you never know what you're going to get when somebody calls themselves a sales coach, a business coach, a spiritual coach, etc., with what their training experience and their methodology is. Hey, Kat, I'm going to put you back on mute here, but I'm going to also address one of the things that you said earlier. You know, coaching is not a regulated profession. Anybody can hang up their shingle and call themselves a coach, just like anybody can hang up their shingle and call themselves a consultant. And I know you well enough to respect you awesomely when it comes to the value that you bring to your clients in a coaching relationship. So, you know, you're certainly welcome from my perspective to put whatever label that you choose to put on yourself. It would be against the law for you to call yourself a therapist or a licensed counselor without, you know, appropriate state, you know, certification. But you're welcome to call yourself a coach or a consultant or an advisor or a mentor, you know, however you choose to use those terms to label yourself for the ways in which you support people and help people address the challenges in their life and take advantage of the opportunities that they have. Stephanie, I'm going to open it up for the next question, please.
Yep, we have a couple of attendees on the call waiting to talk live with you.
Great.
James is waiting, has a couple questions for you.
All right, we'll start with James. James, you are off of mute. What's your question, sir?
Yeah, I was just, and I think you kind of covered it with Stephanie, but I was just wondering, you know, it seems to me, I guess, I would think more of coaches should be direct coaches. I mean, if I'm going to hire you to coach me, I'm going to want you to be in mud with me. I want you to be digging in the stuff, and kind of like the basketball coach saying, now you need to jump higher for your free throws. Your swing coach, you need to open your stance a little bit.
Yeah.
Somebody said, this is what you need to do. I know, you know, I may not be the best at that, but I know what it takes to get you to be your best.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm looking for in a coach. But I guess that would be more of a direct coach as opposed to an indirect coach, according to your definitions.
Yeah, that's the way I define it. Or it could be a consultant or advisor or mentor or a trainer. There's a lot of different labels you can put to that. And I love the way that you're very clear of, I want somebody to give me some honest feedback. I want an umpire. I want somebody who will tell me what I'm doing wrong and help me correct it and get better. Yeah, that's very cool. And by the way, that's the role that we normally play. I call myself a coach consultant or a consultant and a coach. And like I said earlier, we're like 75% consulting and 20 to 30% coaches. I do drop into that coaching communication style every once in a while, especially when somebody's asking me a question and I think they know the answer. then we drop back into that style of saying, well, what do you think the issue is, or what do you think the big problem is, or when do you sense that you got triggered in that particular environment, etc. So I think it's really helpful as a manager of people, as a CEO, to be able to employ either one of those communication styles, either the direct communication style or the indirect communication style. I used to make a joke that said that, if you're talking to a consultant and a consultant notices that your shoe's untied, the consultant is going to say, hey, dude, your shoe's untied. But the coach might say, hey, I've been thinking the other day about how important it is to make sure that your shoes are untied, or shoes are tied whenever you're walking, so you don't trip and fall down. Don't you think that might be important too? Well, there's sometimes when the direct approach is a lot more expeditious and just seems to be, absolutely the right way to communicate with somebody else. So thank you very much for your comments there. I appreciate it, James. Who's next, Stephanie?
Hallie is next.
Great. Hallie is, there she is. Hallie's on the call. Hallie, it's great. Welcome to the call today, Hallie. You are off of mute, dear, but we can't hear you. I don't know if you're having a microphone issue or not. There you are.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Good. Hi. Sorry, driving. So, yeah, hi. So thank you for taking my call. And this is so topical. Obviously, as a physician, I speak both as the doctor-patient relationship, and in the rehab doctor biz, it's very important to have the chance to be the coach as well as the mentor, as well as the consultant and the guide, variously within that doctor role. So my question is, as far as this call, how do you know when you have the right fit in terms of which that role is for that particular circumstance or situation, in addition to being direct or indirect? Because when you're switching gears from clinical to non-clinical advising, as I am, in different capacities as a tech advisor for projects, how do I know which role is required and how to make sure it's the right fit for that purpose?
Boy, that is a great question. And I'm just going to brainstorm here a little bit with you on that one. The coaching mindset is that the client is the expert. There's one thing that is not in the ICF literature that I saw, and I haven't talked about it yet today, but I'm inspired to talk about it now. And that is that generally the assumption is, or the knowledge is, that people learn the deepest and learn the best when they discover it for themselves. It's the Socratic method of communication that asks questions and gives people the opportunity to come up with the answers for themselves. The theory is, and I frankly don't know whether this is backed up with any sort of clinical research, but certainly the theory is, if somebody comes across the answer for themselves or by themselves, that they will somehow own the answer better. I know that that's true whenever I'm collaborating with people, because one of the great principles of management is that if you want somebody to support the decision that's being made, you give them the opportunity to participate in the decision-making process. Because if they feel like that they came up with it for themselves, that they will own that answer more than if they think that somebody else is giving them that advice. I think there are exceptions to that rule. For example, if I'm talking to you as a doctor, Hallie, and you telling me that this is the way it is, I'm probably going to defer to that and say, because of her expertise, her training, her experience, that they know about more than I do, and I actually believe you more than I would believe myself. But in other cases, a person might believe themselves more, or at least have ownership of the particular problem or the solution more if they came up with it for themselves. So I think the bottom line is, I don't know. I think that as a professional, we want to be able to communicate with people in both ways. And maybe a good question that you and I can practice asking ourselves is, do we think this person knows this answer? Do we think that they're the expert on this? We want to at least give them the chance to come up with a great answer for themselves. And if we don't think that they have come up with an answer that's really going to serve them well, then we can step in and be a more of a direct coach and take a more clinical approach to the conversation. Sometimes, by the way, I do that when I'm in a coaching role and we've had a coaching communication style with a client. I find myself asking my clients, do you mind if I offer you a little bit of insight here? Or do you mind if I make a suggestion to you? That is a really great segue in between the coaching relationship or the indirect coaching relationship and the more direct coaching or the advising or mentoring relationship. So it can be easy to segue in between those two. And I think as a result of this conversation, I'm going to be asking my clients a lot more about what would you like to do and what do you think the issues are in this situation. And then if I see that they've come up with something that I think is absolutely going to work, then we're going to go with it. And if I see that they're not coming up with a viable solution, then I'm going to offer to step in and offer the advice that I have. Because sometimes they may be like James, who commented earlier, he wants a direct coach. He wants somebody to tell him what's going on and share with him what their perspectives and insight are and make suggestions or even tell them what to do, which is more of a clinical doctor-patient relationship. So thank you very much for that call, Hallie. It's great to hear your voice. It's great to have you on the call today. I'm going to put you back on mute, and we're going to go to the next caller. Stephanie, who's next?
Tracy is next.
Okay. Tracy, I'm going to take you off of mute here. Tracy, welcome to our call today.
Hi, Paul.
Hi.
So my question is, well, our core business is as design consultants, and we've been doing it for clients for 20 years. But we realized recently that there are a lot of clients we turn away, and ones we can't help, but our information would be really valuable to them. So we've been thinking about starting up some kind of mentorship service program. But now I'm thinking, based on having on your talk here, that maybe coaching makes more sense as to actually what we want to do. But do you find that there's people will still prefer the label mentor over coach, and is that kind of a barrier?
I don't think it's a barrier, but I do think that you find people that prefer to describe themselves as mentors and people who choose to interact with people who describe themselves as mentors. In some of my marketing material, I call myself a mentor because I do have long-term relationships with clients, and I do give advice and training and tutoring on a wide variety of different subjects. And if somebody wants to call me a mentor, that's great if they're more comfortable with that label. If you're going to, you're going to go into more of a training module, you might use the word coach, you might call yourself mentor, you might actually develop information products and have training programs available for your clients where you coach them through or guide them through the process of creating their own prototypes and creating their own products, with your particular guidance. I don't know in your profession whether coaching is a label that I would put on your coach. You could call yourself a prototype coach. If you called yourself a prototype coach, you would be the first and only prototype coaches that I've ever met. So maybe that's a good thing from a marketing standpoint for you to call yourself that. And then, have training programs and other methodologies that you can help guide your clients through so they can do it themselves. And you're kind of an advisor or a mentor to that process, or do it with you. So it's a do it with you model instead of a do it for you model. I think that's a good way to leverage the talent and experience that you have and maybe open yourself up to a market that can't afford your normal fee structure that you shared with me earlier when we met a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining the call today, Tracy. I appreciate it. And Stephanie, who's next?
Arthur is next.
Arthur, I'm going to take you off of mute and say welcome to our call today, Arthur.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I had my tooth pulled. That's why you're probably kind of muffled.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're feeling better. I know you'll recover quickly.
Yeah, I really wasn't planning on talking, but one of the things I was, let me hold on for a minute.
Okay.
One of the things I was thinking about was when you get a coach or you get a mentor, is it good for them to have be kind of professional in their field, or is that's a qualification that you look for as well?
That is
and the question asked to make sure that they understand kind of what you're looking for.
I think thank you for that question. I mean, I'm gonna leave you off of mute for a second, but
Okay.
so that if they are a true ICF coach, a personal coach or a life coach, it's all about the process. The coach doesn't have any of the answers at all and never offers a suggestion. They don't give advice and they don't do stuff. They just ask great questions to help you figure out what your options are to make great choices and hold you accountable to those. So, but if it's a direct coach, if it's somebody that you're looking to for guidance and advice, then absolutely you want them to have some domain experience and some process experience and expertise that's relative to your particular field. So if you're looking for a sales coach, you want to make sure that person, has been a successful salesperson and has coached other people successfully. If you're looking for a speaking coach, you want to make sure that person is a professional speaker or has been and has a track record of experience helping other people be great speakers. That being said, as a consultant, I oftentimes talk about two different types of consulting. So there is process consulting and there is domain expertise consulting. So in some ways, I am an expert in the process of starting and growing businesses. I'm an expert in the process of creating financial models. I'm an expert in the process of writing business plans. We are experts in the process of designing your marketing messages and strategies and doing strategic planning. And when we are those type of consultants, even when there's deliverables attached to our consulting engagement, it is going through a specific process. And I don't have to be an expert in ladies' lingerie or in tea or in heavy equipment or in remodeling staircases or in any of the other 80 fields that I've helped people create business plans in, because I'm an expert in the process of starting and growing a business, and I'm an expert in the process of creating business plans. So even as a consultant, we find ourselves with experts in the process as well. So that being said, you can also have a consultant that doesn't use a process, that is just an advisor or a mentor and calls themselves a consultant because they are an expert in a particular field. I say that I'm a restaurant consultant and my expertise is helping people start and grow restaurants. Well, I've claimed a specific expertise in that field, and that's what you're paying me for. You're paying me for my domain expertise. In that particular case, they may also have process expertise in the process of defining your restaurant concept and creating your first restaurant location, etc. So it is a little bit confusing out there. As a consultant, we give advice and we do stuff, and we may have a domain expertise and we may have process expertise. But as a true ICF coach, a true indirect coach, it's not about our expertise at all. We're just experts in the process of getting you to face your current situation, about understanding what your alternatives are, and about making good decisions, and then holding yourself accountable to the decisions that we help you make. So thank you very much for that question, Art. We got time, I think, for one more question before we move on. In just a second, I think Stephanie may have something to add to that one as well. Stephanie, go ahead.
Hey, Arthur, this is Stephanie. I just wanted to tell you personally that I have spent probably over $60,000 on coaches just in the last 10 years. And, for me, it's always been about finding the person who really is the right fit for you. And for me, that is about finding somebody whose messages resonate with me. And I think that for many of us, there are a lot of individuals out there that for whatever reason, we're just not on the same page when we communicate. Just stuff happens. when you find somebody whose message does resonate with you, that you really click and you really think, you know, I can really learn from this person, I can really meet my goals, I can take action, I can do what I wanted to do with this person, then that's one of the signals to me that it's the right fit, if that makes sense. I pay attention to my gut and my instinct about, am I going to be able to communicate with this person? Because if there's no communication there, the qualifications and all those fantastic certifications really don't mean very much to me if I can't communicate with you, if that makes sense. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, Stephanie, that's a brilliant ad. And with that, I'm going to bring us to a close for the day. I want to remind you all, I know you've seen our emails recently, and you'll see another one or two. In between now and the end of the month, we're running a special on what we call our Gold for Silver program that allows you to get a tremendous amount of coaching and consulting and advice on growing your business and taking it to the next step at a very, very reduced price. So we're offering our Gold program for the same price as our Silver program. I encourage you to take advantage of that. That's literally the best deal that we've ever offered in my 14 years of being a consultant. So take advantage of it while you can. We're gonna take that off at the end of this month on August the 31st. And I thank you so much for attending the call today. I love the live discussion, the interactive discussion at the end of it. I'm really glad to see so many people on the call for this particular conversation on what it means to be a great coach and what how a coach can add value to your business and to your life. And until we meet again, this is Paul Hoyt wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.